and information. And that is what I'm hoping to provide to you today. Just from a show of hands, can I see how many of you are entrepreneurs? Fantastic. And how many of you are within corporate that are working? Okay, great. You're juggling both. Good, good. That's fantastic. I also started that way, so you're on the right path. That's wonderful. So my name is Hetty, and I am within the retail industry, and I run a company called P&H Boutique. And my purpose today is just to share a little bit of my journey with you, but also to share the learnings that I've gotten along the way. A lot of times I've realized when I interact with other entrepreneurs, people can sometimes be a little bit cagey. They're not always willing to share information. They can be a little bit paranoid that maybe somebody's going to steal their ideas. And so my intention today is to share with you as much as possible, to give you some of the learnings that I've gotten along the way. So just a little bit of background about P&H Boutique. We specialize in modern traditional wear. So it's the type of garments that you're seeing me wear right now. We've got retail stores across South Africa, so in Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. And we've also got a manufacturing production side of our business where we make all of our garments ourselves at our factory, and all of our accessories are handmade as well. And so I'm just going to go through a 6-point kind of advice or tips that I have learned along the way. So please do feel free to take notes if you wish to do so. And I would love to keep this as interactive as possible. So if you've got questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to ask. So much like yourself, I started my business while also working within corporate and just kind of doing that juggling act. And so that really brings me to the first point, which is start small, think big. If I had thought at the beginning of my business that I would have opened a store at the biggest mall in sub-Saharan Africa, there's no way that I would have started. It would have been far too daunting. How would I have paid the rent? Where would I have got the staff from? How would I just do anything? However, when you start small, it allows you to learn and grow slowly and steadily with your business. And so I'd love to encourage you all to really appreciate the beauty of humble beginnings, because it is in those beginning stages that you actually learn the biggest lessons for your business that you can then translate much later on. So as I mentioned, I've got 5 retail stores in Johannesburg. We are located at Cresta Mall and East Rand Mall. In Pretoria, we're located at Mainland Mall. In Polokwane, we are at Savannah Mall. And in Nelspruit, we are at Riverside Mall. But I think I would be amiss to not mention that we started in the spare bedroom of our house. We had no capital. We had no way of opening our store in a brick and mortar space. And so if you are in the beginning stages of your business where you don't have much capital and you're not sure how to begin, I would say start. Just start. Make use of whatever you have available at your disposal and just begin. We started with an online store, and as a person without any IT background whatsoever, I wasn't sure how we're going to start our online e-commerce website. All the quotes that we're getting from various people were about 40,000 Rand, money which we definitely did not have. And so I looked on the internet and eventually came across a software that would allow us to start an online store free of charge. The name of that software is called Shopify. If you're looking to start an e-commerce website, please write that name down and search for it on the internet. It's called Shopify. It also has a free POS system that can link to any store anywhere as well. And so we were able then to set up our online store. So what are the things that are preventing you from getting started because you do not have capital? Is it something that you could become industrious with and start on your own? Or do you need to become creative? Perhaps you can come up with a barter arrangement with somebody where they provide you with a service and you in turn also provide them with a service. So start small, think big, and always be industrious. The second point I would like to make is that the way you start is not how you're going to end. A lot of us have grand ideas for our businesses when we start. Some of us even have business plans. But what we realize when we get started is that our business takes on a life of its own. We encounter challenges that we didn't factor in. Sometimes people experience exponential growth that they weren't even expecting. And so your business takes on a form of its own. Allow your business to grow, and you need to become agile and transform together with your business. I've seen a lot of businesses that have crumbled, not because the idea isn't good, but because people failed to grow with the business because they became married to the idea of what they expected their business to be when they started out. Allow your business to transform. Let your business tell you what it is, as opposed to you telling your business what it is. There came a point where the online store was no longer working for us. People wanted to touch and feel the garments. They wanted to know who is the person behind the website that is answering their queries and questions. Before long, people were coming into our home, and we realized that actually we need to set up a physical store. That was never the plan in the beginning. And had we not grown and become agile with the business, we would have become stuck and believed that it wasn't a winning business. So allow your business to grow. Where you start is not where you're going to end up. The third point is invest in knowledge, invest in education. When you look at the corporate space, it's very unusual for someone to do the same job for 30 years and not do some kind of a refresher course. All of us want to keep updated with the industry trends of what's going on within our various industries. Treat your business the same way. Treat it like an actual business. A lot of people, for some reason, seem to think that, the knowledge that they need in business will just come naturally or intuitively. It's not. Your business is going to require skills and expertise from you that you haven't acquired through professional realm. Not all of us have HR background. You're going to need to have accounting knowledge, IT knowledge, even just how to sell, how to win friends and influence people. These are all the things that you're going to need to learn in order to grow a successful business. Most of us know how to make our product or service, but do we know what the labor laws are when we employ staff? Arm yourself with knowledge. Come to events such as these, network with people, pay for courses, and where possible, read as much as possible. The beauty with reading is that it allows you to tap into the knowledge of the authors and to tap into the lessons learned and experience without necessarily having to go through those growing pains yourself. I'll give you an example. Our business relies quite heavily on social media, Facebook in particular. And when we were running our online store, we probably had about 10,000 followers on Facebook. At the time, it seemed a lot, but it certainly wasn't enough to keep us going. We saw an online course, it was in US dollars, to the equivalent of about 20,000 Rand, money that we simply did not have. We borrowed that money from our credit card and we did that course. Within 6 months of doing that course, we were able to grow our Facebook following to over 100,000 people. We now have over 400,000 followers on Facebook. It is through those customers, through those insights that we learned in that course, that we've literally been able to grow our business and that I was able to leave my corporate job. I can truly attest that that is one of the reasons why I'm able to be a full-time entrepreneur. The question, therefore, is not how much the course is going to cost you, but rather how much it's going to cost you to not invest in your knowledge. Can your business afford it? The fourth point is trust your growth journey. You know, in business, you're going to encounter problems. That's a given. If you think it's going to be smooth sailing, then you need to stick to your day job. Business is hard. It's very challenging. You're going to come across problems that you never even imagined or dreamed of. However, you need to trust your journey within your business. Every business grows differently, and there's certain learnings that we're going to get through that. A lot of the learnings that we acquire actually comes through challenges. One of the examples I'll use is our first brick and mortar store. We believed that because we had such a large following on social media, it didn't really matter where we would open up our store. Because of the inquiries and demands that were coming in, of course these people would find us. Of course they would just come flocking into the store. Nothing could be further from the truth. The truth of the matter is we opened in the wrong location. It was terrible. There's a reason why they say location, location, location. They say it 3 times and yet we didn't listen. It was a huge learning curve. Having to understand what kind of staff we needed within our store. Initially, because we're both in corporate, we thought that, you know what, if we can just find someone that'll open the store in the morning and close the store at night, then that's all that we need. But in fact, we've come to realize that we need a lot more than that. What is the attitude of the staff that is coming through the door? What is their education level? How do they treat customers? Are they an extension of who I am? All of these things are learned through experience. All of these things come through growing pains. Another thing also is that don't be afraid to take the path less traveled. Through this journey, we realize that when it comes to African print clothing, it largely exists within the informal sector. All of us know of a cousin or an aunt who has a sewing machine that can make dresses. Most people have bought traditional wear in downtown somewhere. And so we realized that if we wanted to set ourselves apart, we would need to do something differently. And so we decided that we are going to operate our business within award-winning malls and in convenience locations for our consumers so that they don't have to venture outside of their typical buying radius. And this was a path very much less traveled. Not many people have done that. Do not be afraid to do something different within your business. The fifth point is know what your value proposition is. What is the thing that sets your business apart from other people? What is the thing that makes your business unique? Now, when we talk about a value proposition, it doesn't necessarily have to be something new. You don't need to come up with the next best invention. Your value proposition could simply be that you're offering a product or service that already exists in the market, but you're offering it better than what is currently being done. Perhaps it's more convenient to access your product. Perhaps you're packaging it differently. Perhaps you're making use of technological and digital advancement in order for people to access your product. Know what your value proposition is and make sure that your customer knows what your value proposition is. Let them always remember that this is the reason why I go to this particular business. And if you're not sure of what your value proposition is, ask. There is no better feedback that you can get from your business than from your own customers. Ask them, why do you keep coming back to me? Why do you keep buying my product or service? And hear what they have to say. Sometimes your value proposition is not what you may think it is. Your customer might say to you that, I actually keep coming back because I like you as a person. You're friendly, you provide good service, and even if you're not able to deliver on time, you always give me a call and you let me know. If that is what your customer is telling you, then you need to take that and ask yourself, within my business, how do I replicate myself? How do I ensure that my staff give my customers the same kind of service that I am giving to them so that I'm able to keep abreast of my value proposition? My sixth and final point is the magic of thinking big. That's the name of a book, by the way. If you haven't read it, I would definitely encourage you to get that book, The Magic of Thinking Big. You have to dream big when you're in business. Entrepreneurs are people that take the road less traveled. They take risks. Where other people see risks, they see opportunities. They invent new things. As an entrepreneur, you'll often come across a lot of resistance from family members or friends. Have a vision for what you want your life and your business to look like. Write down your goals, put them up on a wall, and look at it every single day. When you do that, you'll begin to realize that you start to make decisions that are aligned with your goals. You start to have conversations and network with people that bring you closer to your goals. And when you do that, you're able to achieve so much more. Start small, but think big. I remember when it became apparent to us that we needed to open a store in Pretoria. Our natural inclination was to look for stores within downtown Pretoria because that's where most people would traditionally get their modern traditional wear. But I remember sitting with my husband one evening and I said to him, you know what? Why don't we think bigger? I think we should try Menlyn. I think we should try Menlyn more. He looked at me as if I had finally lost my mind. I think he's always known that I'm a little bit cuckoo, but now he was really convinced that I've fallen off the edge. We contacted Menlyn, we submitted our proposal, and you can imagine how my jaw dropped when they actually called us in for a meeting. And in that meeting, we knew our value proposition. We wanted to offer a product and service that isn't currently available in the mall. We wanted to offer the consumers diversity in terms of their shopping options. And also, it was a fantastic opportunity for the mall to show that they actually do support small businesses. Needless to say, because we thought so big, we now have a store at Menlyn Park Shopping Centre, which is the biggest mall in sub-Saharan Africa. Think big. Understand that there is magic in thinking big. In your particular industry, there may not be people that are doing big things, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow that path. See what others have done and reimagine a reality for yourself that is far bigger than that. Write down your goals, be intentional about those goals, and then sit back and marvel at what you've been able to accomplish. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I hope that those tips were useful and insightful. It's truly been a privilege to chat to you, and I look forward to networking with you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hetty. Do we have any questions for Hetty? I'll take 2 questions.
Hi. What was the name of the course that you took with your business partner, if I may ask?
It's a Facebook for Business course. I'm more than happy to give you my details and I'll send you a link to that course. I see subsequent to that there are other courses that have come on board, so I'm sure that they're even more detailed and more advanced than even what we went through. So I'll be happy to share that information with you.
Awesome. Any other question? Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to find out from you how long it actually took you to go from doing your corporate job and running your business to actually being able to go full-time into just being an entrepreneur and going on with your business.
Okay. You know, I always say there's a start of your business and then there's when you really start with your business. So I would say from the start of our business, it was 4 years. But from when we really started our business and began to actively push it, it was about 2 years. What we chose to do was the Robert Kiyosaki model of having a full-time job and a part-time business until you're able to grow your part-time business to become a full-time business. There are different types of entrepreneurs, and I think that we were a little bit more risk averse. We wanted to know that the business would be able to replace our income. And so once I was able to exit corporate employment, my husband was able to do so a year later.
Any other question?
How did you manage to get funding?
That's an interesting question. A lot of people, especially when I tell them our story, they assume that we got funding. We are 100% self-funded. We've not received 1 cent from any other outside funding. And if I'm honest with you, it's taken a lot of discipline. We knocked on doors looking for funding and we were not able to get them. What we realize is that a lot of funding companies are looking for businesses in certain industries. Some of them have been mandated to fund businesses within construction, others are mandated to fund businesses within IT, and very few of them are willing to fund fashion, because often at times people don't actually take it as a serious business. They don't believe that you can really live off it. And so as a result, we just had to make it happen on our own. One of the ways that we did that is that my husband, he studies actuarial science, so he's very much into numbers. And the truth of the matter is, for a long time, we had to live on 40% of our income. And the rest of the money went into our business. These are some of the sacrifices we have to make in order to grow the business. And so we couldn't have the luxury of just leaving our full-time job and jumping into the business. We had to juggle the two until we were able to grow it enough to be able to come out. Now we are in a position where we're being offered funding and we actually have the option to say, is this actually what we need? Because the truth of the matter is, not all money is good money. And so when the opportunities come along, really weigh it up and ask yourself, is this the type of funding that's going to be good for me? Once my business has grown and once it has become a well-oiled machine, are the terms of this agreement going to be favorable for me in the next 5 years or in the next 7 years? That's not to say funding isn't a good thing. In fact, there are many businesses which cannot thrive without funding, which will reach stagnation if they do not receive funding. But just make sure that you have well-informed decisions so that you're able to make the best decision for you.
I have one question here, Hetty.
Hi.
Hi there.
With your business being online when you initially started, I just want to know, how did you overcome the trust issue? Because, you know, with things being sold online, there's a lot of fly-by-night and a lot of things, and people are very skeptical of buying from a new business. If you could just talk me through that, please. Thanks.
Absolutely. In fact, I think that's a very relevant question. I often have lots of debates with entrepreneurs about this very issue, because when you look at statistics and when you look at the research, online shopping is growing. It's growing worldwide. However, I believe that the South African market is very different, particularly the black consumer market. And we must be very honest with ourselves. A lot of people will go onto an online website, they'll see the stuff, but they're afraid to put in their banking details. They're afraid to get scammed. I think we're still many years away from people building a comfort level with online shopping. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the presence within the market. However, you need to adapt it. And so one of the things that we did in the beginning is we would look at online stores in the US and the UK, and we thought if we replicated that model, it would work. That was a very big mistake. What you need to do is to look at the South African environment and adapt your model to suit the environment. And so after a while, it became very apparent to us that people wanted to know who they are buying from. They wanted to be able to pick up the phone and have another voice answer on the other side. They wanted to know our name. They wanted to ask questions. And so as a result of that, we had to find a way to bridge the gap between ourselves and the online website. And the way to do that, we found, was through WhatsApp. And so we introduced that as part of our business model. So the contact details were there. The customers were able to ask questions. Sometimes you'll be surprised at the smallest thing that will actually cause a customer to abandon their cart on the website. They want to know if the garment has pockets. Or they want to know that if it arrives and it's not the correct size, can they return it? Can they exchange it? They want to understand what your refund policy is. And even though all those details are on the website, they want somebody to tell them. And so if you're running an online store, it's a fantastic start. But find a way to bridge the gap between yourself and the consumer. Find a way to show them that you are a reliable and credible source. Put up testimonials of people's reviews of your product after they have received it, because it also builds confidence in your consumer. Definitely building the gap is going to be key.
Awesome. Any other question? Thank you very much, Hetty.
Thank you very much.
This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming through.